soul. Down a few more. And then 2 more. See if I get a wound. 1 more wound. That's safe. No, -2.
Back up to a 5 up.
Basic 5. Okay. What? That's safe when the damage is held.
Yep. That's what makes the heart guard, though. That's
okay. 3s
they're
and 3s.
robust.
5 hit.
Hit.
All wounds -1.
4 ups. So 1 save for 1 damage apiece. So 4 ups. 1 more die. Soul.
Ooh. All right.
2 4 ups.
And that?
None.
All right, so.
1 2.
2 wounds.
Sorry about getting this started a little late here, folks, but
1 more soul.
we should.
Not as good as I wanted.
All right, so now
Not as good as I wanted.
my 1 command point will go over here now.
And my 3. Oh, you got it. Okay.
You're up on the green ones.
I'm giving up on the green ones.
All right. Hey, Brian, who did you want me to share this with?
Just you could say it in the channel, but Mark Talbot was asking if it's being streamed.
Oh. So yes it is.
First off, I want to make sure I didn't go outside of my 12-inch coverage.
You can.
That's cool.
That's like when I was streaming, when I was doing the broadcasting yesterday. I was talking to myself the entire match because there's only like 1 person ever viewing it, and it was us. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 heart guard will hit you.
2 attacks apiece?
2 attacks apiece.
Well, for some reason it won't let me tag him. So.
No, I would just reply back.
Okay.
Into the post that I did earlier.
Okay. Oh, I got this going up here. So, if anybody's joining us there in Facebook land, we're already turn 1 in, but Andre and his flesh eater courts versus Brian and his naked dwarves, his Fyre Slayers.
All right, so Berserker's broadexes, 19 hits.
I'll steal your mission point here. Looks like they're doing focal points as their mission. So it was the pitch battle, so it's the table halves for their deployment zones. There's 5 objectives in a cross pattern, so 2 in Andre's deployment zone, 2 in Brian's deployment zone with 1 objective in the middle. So they're pretty much just duking it out for holding objectives.
10.
Is it 10?
Yeah, because I have 5 in my hand. That didn't.
Oh, okay.
10 at -2, so you'll get a 6 up. So 10 6 ups.
Make 1, so 9 goes through.
That is 18 wounds.
Should. So.
Looks like Brian's Berserkers are going nuts on a Terrorgeist here.
Save on 6s on this. Or no, this one he gets a 5 up. And this was the first 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're doing a 6 up save on these 7.
7. Oh yeah, got it.
So you save 2 more. So now we have. So that's how many. That's 5 wounds have gone through, and now 9 more.
On 5 up.
Yep. All right, now 6 ups. See, 1 more save, so that's another 6 there. So 11 wounds have gone through. So he's down to 2.
So Andre's
Yeah,
big
we forgot
undead
to-
dragon
no,
thingy.
He will get the hit back, but it's going to be -1 here.
Yep.
So. All right, so that was at the start of combat. You now get to declare your next unit, whether it be this one or that one.
They've already attacked.
They are, this one is safe, so I would come
that
over
one
here.
over here. So,
So the downside is you can pile down this way a little bit, but there would be no reason to.
no.
So-
I'd rather go around the.
So you can come around. I mean, it's going to have to go. There's about his maximum,
Yeah, that's fine.
and then he'll step up. And he'll get there. He'll step up to fill that gap. Or just to fill in, but not be able to hit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 get to hit 3 times apiece. So 66 hits. 5s and 5s, isn't it? Or there might be 4s and
No, 4s and 4s.
4s and 4s.
Okay. Let me see something real quick. You're within 18 feet of there, so any ones I get to reroll.
Wholly within?
Yep, they are going to be
Wholly within.
So,
If you want to do 22 or whatever, we'll do that 3 times.
22 you said?
Yeah, 22. Since you're going to get 66 in total.
So, 4s and 4s.
4s and re-rolling 1s.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a lot of 1s.
A lot of, but you got to re-roll those.
Yeah, well, good thing for rerolling ones.
Yeah, keep those separated. That way we can pick up that exact same pile here in a minute. All right, so
Okay.
put those off to the side and roll these, because we might not need to go through all 66 hits. We'll see.
I may have to.
Well, we might.
Only 4.
So 4. Let me do 4 here real quick. 4 on 5. 5 ups. So I take 3 of those, so 1.5 are dead. Okay, so now your second batch. 4 pluses, re-rolling 1s.
Man, you have a thing for rolling ones.
That's when it's a bravery check. There we go. So that's another, probably another 10. 11.
6, 11.
3, 6, 9.
I gotta roll the wounds.
Oh, that's right. No, that was just to hits.
Yeah, I
you're
have to
right.
roll the wounds first.
That's not
There
bad.
you go. That was a good
9.
roll.
Let me get rid of 2. 9 5 ups. So I say 1, 2. That's 7 more that go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all of them. So you won't have to do any more out of that one.
All right. So it looks like Andre did a little bit of a sweep over there. That was pretty good for him.
Is that first blood?
I don't really ever. They don't get that as enough.
Oh, they should.
So is this the first round of combat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
still first.
Well, I did my first round just by moving up, and then he's come in.
Okay, so we didn't miss very much. It
Oh,
looks
yeah,
like Brian did a little move forward. Then Andre did an aggressive strike with his Terrorgeist.
Here.
He deep struck in. Looks like some of his what are those again?
I got a Vargooth Courtier is the one
Those
in
are
the back.
these are
Okay.
flayers.
And then
And then
and 6 flares.
and then flayers coming in the back. So Andre is definitely on the offensive so far.
Again. I'm hoping.
But it looks like his Terrorgeists are definitely the primary target for Brian because his Berserkers are monster hunters by trade. So this is really the fight that they enjoy the most, I think, is going after big Griblies like the like the Terrorgeists.
They have 2-inch range.
They only have a 1-inch range on their axes. What's going to hurt on this one, I might not get a whole lot this turn, but their battalion ability gives me the chance to attack. They go back into the queue, and I can attack again. And that second time, I then pile in again, which allows me to get all of these guys that didn't get hit. what Andre doesn't care now is he doesn't care about the -2 rend that I have for this round. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's gonna be 14 hits.
Yeah, so I got the amulet, so any rents are basically negated.
14. So 14's hitting on 3s and 4s, 3s and 3s.
3s and 3s.
There's a 2. All right, so 10 hits, 3s. So 6, and you don't care about rend, so 6 4-ups.
Miss 2.
All right, so that's 4 damage, so 4 6-ups.
So 3 go through.
All right, so 3 go through. And they officially, they've attacked. You now attack, you can attack with him.
Yeah.
Heavily muted, hopefully, but
He's down to his
and he gets a -1 to hit, remember.
Only taking 4 damage out of that big wave of attacks was not bad for Andre here, so hopefully that Terrorgeist can come back and do some damage back to his guys.
Well, over here, so
But we have the
4s and 3s re-rolling, all misses. He only has 3
But
attacks.
this is a okay, so this is the Fanged Maw. So 6s will go through as mortal
But I
wounds.
need 5s and
But
3s.
you will need
5s
5s.
and 3s.
And, yep.
This is just only -1 to hit, right?
Sorry, this is more, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So yes, it's just
5s
for
and 3s.
-1 to hit.
Okay, so 5s and 3s, 6s.
5s and 3s, still 6s still do their thing. So those, and now that this is modifiers, so you can go ahead and re-roll this. This is where I had a, this, okay,
Nope.
so 1 goes through, it does wound. So
minus
-2.
Yep.
And I don't have that, so I will not get a save on them because they don't get all the cool
Yep, so
extra saves for 1. Too bad you can't re-roll that one, unfortunately. So 1 4-up, I do make it. So nothing out of that one.
So that was a bummer because that Terrorgeist was so heavily wounded. It didn't look like he did as much as
Actually,
he would have liked there.
we're going to do the skeletal claws real quick.
oh yeah, that's right. We're not done with all the attacks. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I got 2 attacks.
-1 to hit, so
So
5s,
5s and 3s.
nothing.
And then,
5 attacks from the Ghoul King.
yeah, so 4s and 3s.
Yep. 3.
2 go through it, -1.
-1, so I do get 6-ups.
Oh man!
I make them both. All right, so we are now officially done there. Now I'll come over here, pile in, down and around. We're gonna at least move him down around the ranks here real quick. Now let me make sure I don't move.
Too far away.
Now in this case, the Battlesmith's actually gonna be the saving grace, so it won't matter. And this is the battalion's ability, Larry, that we're doing as I get to attack again.
Okay, so yeah, his Fyre Slayers battalion allows him to attack again with one of his Berserker squads, but they do have to wait until the end of the fight order.
They go back into the queue.
They go back into the queue after their first fight, so they can't fight immediately twice. And looks like his improvement right now is the Rune of Awakened Steel, which improves the rend characteristic of his melee weapons by 1 for his Fyre Slayers for this round. So it gives him the rend 2, which is pretty key, but it sounded like Andre ignored some rend on these big creatures.
I have a,
Ethereal Amulet.
yeah, so that particular one basically ignores red.
Okay, so the rend 2 really doesn't help Brian out on that one.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 this time, so 23 attacks now. 22 plus 1
Oh, okay.
for the Carl.
I can't add.
No, I'll take 24, but no, it's 23. So
23 attacks going into that. So, like I said, his Berserkers really do enjoy monster hunting. This is their
14, 18, 22, 23. This is 3s and 3s.
Yeah, so hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. Looks like he got quite a few hits.
Those all appear to be 3 or better. So if I had 23, this would be 19 hits make it through. wounding on 3s. 3, 6, 9, 11, 12. 12 at you don't care rend.
So 12 hits go through.
12 4-ups now.
So he gets his 4-up saves. He makes quite a few of them.
Only miss 4.
Okay.
So 4 go through, and then he gets a feel no pain, if I'm not mistaken.
6 is right.
Yep. This is also in times 2 for all those. So you save 1 and then roll 1 extra. There you go.
So
So you saved out of 8 damage, you take 7 more.
So he does take 7 damage. He had 11 left, so he's down to 4.
he survived.
Yep, he did.
So out of all that damage, both of his big guys are still alive, heavily wounded, but still in the fight.
So at the end of everything is fought that needed to fight.
Correct.
I've lost all of 1 unit. I am going to chance that I'm going to lose 1. If I don't win initiative, so I have to be, thing is, it's wholly within 6, so I was going to have to roll it anyways. It's wholly within 12 inches of my rune master, and because I piled in around you, I'm not wholly within. That 1 guy right there is costing me it. So I'm going to have to roll bravery, roll morale. All right,
so
so
now
we have a bravery of 8, so as long as I don't roll a 3 or better. Well, 3, I only lose 1, okay.
All right, so Brian loses 1 more of his berserkers there for bravery.
So I've lost all of them.
But he did lose a whole unit there on the
And
back side of his line.
you will have 3 points because you've got these both objectives.
And then
Yeah.
4.
It comes out
So
pretty
we are
cool,
tied
really.
4 to 4 right now. 4 to 4 after turn 1.
So it's 4 to 4.
Oh. Grab the wrong one.
Oh, you're good. There, okay. So now what it comes down to,
Who gets initiative?
I have the bit of the initiative going into turn 1, so 4, 3. I forgot to roll the 5+ to see if I got the command point back for spending it last turn. I'm not going to go back and try and claim it. That's what I was talking about.
Hard to remember everything.
Oh,
All right, so at the end of the round, it looks like they're tied up at 4.
Also, roll 6 dice.
But this is going to be
I think you might read the card. I believe it's a 4+.
It's going to be the key moment, like most Age of Sigmar games, though, because they are both engaged in combat now. Gaining the initiative for round 2 is going to be a big deal.
He got the initiative.
Oh, so Brian has the initiative. So this is
So you do heal 4 wounds, and it has to go to this guy because he was just out of range. This is from his chalice.
okay. So the chalice there in the middle of the table did heal 4, right? 4 wounds on his
Hurt Terrorgeist.
yeah, on the one that was the most wounded. It was down to 2 wounds. So bringing it back up to 6 gives it a chance at survival next time, where it was pretty much doomed before.
I think in this case, I'm actually going to make this the Rune of Fury is going to be my rune for the turn. It's going to see if I roll it for a max. It does go off on a max. So its enhanced effect is I can re-roll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly Fyre Slayer units. In addition, add 1 to the attack characteristic for melee weapons, so they're going to get 3 attacks each.
So this is the bad one for him. So not only does he get to add +1 to his attack rolls, he also gets +1 attack because he maxed it out with a roll of a 6. So his Fyre Slayers have just become about as deadly as can be. Now he does not get the +1 rend this time, so he's not at rend 2, but +1 to his attack characteristic plus +1 to his rolls means they are absolutely deadly.
Now we're going to see.
As you've seen before in previous streams, if you've watched them, Brian's Fyre Slayers really are pretty brutal, but this is the first time seeing Andre's Terrorgeist list on stream. So
nice.
I've
That's
heard
nice.
stories of it in the past that its shock assault can be terrifying. It can be
Bruce
absolutely
Micro right
brutal
here.
to most armies.
Because we're going to, at the start of my hero phase, I'm outside of range, so I don't get a plus there. So on this one, I have to roll a 3+ for the prayer. This is Searing Heat. It goes off. I'm going to target him. On a 3+, the prayer is answered. If the prayer is answered, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the priest. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until the start of my next hero phase.
So the Terrorgeist that was just healed is now hitting at a -1 because of his Rune Priest.
Searing Heat.
He's now become uncomfortably hot, and he is not focused on his attacks.
Runic Empowerment. At the start of my hero phase, this model can chant a prayer on a 3+. Goes off. Pick a friendly Fyre Slayers unit wholly within. This one won't matter because, oh no, this one will. Okay, so I'm going to pick this unit. I can re-roll wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until the start of my next hero phase.
And now he's also re-rolling wounds against that same Terrorgeist.
This is Runic Empowerment, because now I'll be able to re-roll hit rolls of 1 and then all failed wound rolls.
So yeah, now
I'm not
he's
gonna worry about that.
re-rolling hit rolls of 1 and all failed
Here's the
wounds.
Rune Master. I do get the extra command point for the turn. Rune Master. Still don't care about the Volcano's Call because I'm standing on the piece of terrain I need. Prayer of Ash. We're going to see on this one, I do get the +1 for being here, so I do need a 4+, so a 3. Missed it again. Okay. We don't want that extra save, apparently. So they're going to be done. Everything else will be fine. Claimed for now. You're going to run up and steal it, though, if I'm not careful, which you will.
So that is one downside of Brian's army, is because he is super aggressive usually. He's moving up into the middle of the board, and with 2 objectives in Andre's deployment zone and 2 objectives in Brian's deployment zone, Brian has moved off of one of his backline objectives, allowing those flayers to move up and probably take one of his back objectives. Now, with the squad that got killed earlier, it appears Andre has stolen his other backline objective as well.
I'm actually going to go into the movement
So
phase.
Andre is squarely in control of all 4 of the outside objectives, but Brian is taking the center objective, it looks, by being on that hill against that Terrorgeist. So we're in Brian's movement phase, so the Fyre Slayers are moving up.
Outside of 3 there, but I'm going to be able to shoot him. Or shoot back that way. Still shoot all of this way if I want to. Yeah, I'll have my choice here in a second.
I had 1/6. I would get 2 hits for each 6. So how does that work with them?
If you would have had 1/6, you basically goes through a six wounds, and then you get an extra dice that you roll for a hit. Yeah, because you only got the hits on this one, didn't get any 6s on him.
No, it's their.
Yeah, I know, but it's his ability. It's the Gristlegore's ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do it on this guy. I forgot about that.
Not worried about it.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run the 3 leaders here. All of 1 inch for the Battlesmith, so he's going to half-ass it up here. Rune Father, 5. Too far. And the Rune Master, another 5. Just trying to get them out of range.
So it looks like not only is he going to try to move up and get on that center objective a little bit more, but he's also getting out of range of those stupid flayers that got into the back there. but he is ceding those objectives in the back to Andre.
All right, so now we'll go, that was all I have to move, because everything else is tied up in combat. Now we'll go to shooting. We'll go ahead and take the 11 shots here, and then the 11 shots here. So the 11 shots from this unit will go into this unit of flayers, the 11 shots from there to there.
Okay.
These are going to be 4s and 3s. Five, 6, 5, 11 shots, 4s and 3s. So 1, 2. Too bad they don't have the monster keyword, huh? 3s. Both of them hit -1, so this will probably take you to a 6-up save, I believe. And we'll get into this unit here that I'll shoot at first.
Okay. 6 up. Nope.
Okay, so and they are within, so you'll take 2 wounds. So go ahead and do 2 6-ups.
Nope.
So one of them is half dead. You'd like to hand me one of your dice? You want the full-sized one, or you want those?
No, that one.
Okay. Any preference whichever order? Just
Do the far.
this one.
Yeah.
So that's 2 wounds to one of the deals in the back there. So
And this
that's
is coming from that unit here.
so it's the throwing axes from his guys here.
This is the shooting.
Oh, the
They
shooting.
They
They've
have
got.
pikes. Actually, I will go ahead and do the throwing axes. Now that you reminded me, so it's going to be 5.
So this is an example of a commentator getting in the way of the
Nope.
game.
These are hitting on 5s and 5s. Minimum.
Oh, for crying out
I still have to hit. Oh, look at that. That one was 5. So
And
3, no rend.
Brian's dice are on,
5-ups.
so that was a good amount of hits there.
So this guy died. Oh, no, two 6-ups.
Oh, he's hitting the.
Are you shooting
No,
at-
this is the rest of this unit.
Oh, okay.
Actually, before we do that, no, don't do that. Because you're still at 9 inches. I couldn't have shot at him. They're 8 inches. It's an 8-inch throwing axe
Oh,
charge.
so as good as that roll was, he was slightly out of range.
Nope, I don't want to cheat you on that one.
So
But I will, so the axes from this one are going to, so the 5 axes will go here, the shots will go here.
Got it. Let's do the shots first.
Yep. So this will be 11 shots.
11 shots, that puts most people on the floor in one go. So
Yeah.
They're dwarves, no. So this is 4s.
but I've heard the undead have a pretty good tolerance. So
So this is just 3 at -1, so 3 6-ups.
3 6-up saves for Andre. He makes 2 of them, which is good.
1 wound on one guy.
And then I believe he
so,
gets his
yeah, that's-
6-up
Yep.
extra. So
One
no.
wound.
So only taking 1's not bad.
Preference?
Far, that one.
So 2 wounds on one unit and 1 wound on another unit.
Yeah,
That's not
5
bad.
5 axes into the terror guys, 5s and 5s. Nothing.
And this Terrorgeist
Alright.
avoids any damage at all.
Shooting, everything shot that needed to. Well, no, everything. These guys have axes too. So that's going to be 20 axes. 4, 12, 16, 20, 5s and 5s. One of those was one. All right. Stop rolling.
You want a drink here?
5s, 3, no rend, so 3 4-ups.
I think it's 3 hits on the other Terrorgeist.
Yeah, you still have the
Unholy Vitality.
So 1 5-up and then 1 6-up. Okay, so
And
1
so
wound.
Andre takes 1 wound there. So that Terrorgeist goes back to being a little more wounded. 5 wounds there.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13. 13 shots, the axes.
So
2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13. 5s. Reroll that. No. I won't. it was going to be close enough to not being one. And 5 ups. Nothing.
And
So all three. I'm just going to roll. All 3 leaders are going to go after the Terrorgeist. 5s and 5s. 1. None.
so the other Terrorgeist on the hill gets off scot-free there.
All right. So now we are going to do the silliness.
So I believe we're out of the
So I will
shooting
get
phase
select
now,
the
so
first
he's
one
going to
because
go
it's
into
my initiative.
combat.
So I'm going to spend 1 command point to give that unit the ability to strike first at the start of combat, my Hermdar ability. I'm going to roll a 5+ to see if I get it back. I do not. From the Auric Brooch, the Aether. All right, so I'll be able to attack there and then come over here and attack, and then you would select whatever to attack next.
The only good thing is if they die, each of them, I get to attack with each of them.
You do.
I can take something with me.
No, you're out of command points.
No, it's
It's a command ability. Yeah. That's why I was asking when you spent the last one. I was like, you're out of command points. Yep. That's Gristlegore's command feature if they have that ability, but it is an ability. All right, so we'll start up here. The 13 is going to be 26, 27. Well, let me pile in here real quick. I only have to pile in enough to get one more.
big beast, just like that.
Yeah, but you're going to go up on score because I have to then rush around.
So this is what they were just discussing is Andre did have an ability with this Terrorgeist to attack on death, but it is a command ability. So guys like me that come from 40K will be familiar with command points, but Age of Sigmar, you earn command points as turns for different reasons. And so they're not as common as they are in 40K, but Andre didn't have enough command points left
So I'm just going to roll
to use that ability.
So 14 and then 13. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 14 and 13. This is hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1. Oh, sorry, no. 3 attacks apiece. 13, so 30, 39, 40 attacks then. Yep.
So Brian's getting his +1 attack characteristic here, so now he's hitting with 40 attacks.
I'll get it real.
So
At least it was a 1.
Oh, okay. You get rid of that one. That was a good morale check one that I needed. All right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. The 20s hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Ouch.
So out of his first 20, it looks like he only missed 1, and it was a 1. So when he re-rolls it into a 3, so that's 20 hits.
Come on. You don't care about the Ren yet. Don't take him off the board quite yet.
How many hits?
20. And then 3s. I'm not saying it's right.
Now this is a little bit better roll for Andre. There are some 1s in here that he's going to get to re-roll.
No,
but
no, this is wounds. I'm just
oh,
doing
he's
the total
he's
20
doing the
through.
20 wounds next. So
All right, so we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. If you want to roll 15,
out of the
we'll
first,
see where we stand.
so out of the first
do
half
it.
of
You
his
never know.
so the first half of his attacks, he gets
You don't care
15
about the Ren,
wounds.
so 15 4-ups.
So Andre has 4 up saves on his first 15. That Terrorgeist had 4 wounds remaining, I believe. So he made quite a few saves.
So there's 6 wounds that went through. So now you get
Yeah, he's got
just roll 6.
So he's
I
got
know.
6 feel no pains.
6 ups.
So
Okay,
yeah.
But you almost made it though.
one mortal wound.
So
Explodes.
he deals 1 mortal wound back to Brian
You're up. I can take it.
because he explodes.
All right. So now we'll come back over here. Now you have searing heat, so that's going to be.
But because Brian spent a command point to attack out of initiative order with that first attack, now he gets to
The -1 for you to hit.
attack again before Andre. So this is second Berserker round. Gets to go in before Andre gets a chance to respond.
That's only because it's my initiative.
Yeah.
That's why I needed initiative this turn. Because I gotta heal some wounds and whittled something.
Well, I'm not going to get a whole lot more in, but I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4,
At least with
5,
this guy over
6,
here,
7,
because I gotta whittle
10,
down that
11.
a lot and then bring the ghouls up.
Another 11, that'd be 22 times, well, 3 attacks, so 11, so 33, 34 attacks. So I'll do 17.
That's where I needed the first turn, because then I could whittle down a lot of these forces.
Yeah, gaining initiative in Age of Sigmar combat is pretty key, especially when you have multiple units engaged.
All right. So now we go, this is the first 17. 3s, and then re-rolling 1s. No. Threes, re-rolling all fails. I'll re-roll that one. Okay. This is because of the rune. So that one is only going to be 2, 4, 6, 7 out of the first attack, -1 rend.
So Andre has 7.
Ups. Nice.
Made a
So that
pretty
is
good
8 wounds
saves.
that go through.
So now he has his 8 feel no pains, 6
No, I
up.
have 5 and 6.
Get this.
Oh.
He has a double layer because he
Oh.
has a. So this is 5.
So he's got
first.
5.
Saved a couple out of that. Now he has a 6 up. The Unholy Vitality was what he cast on
Oh,
himself.
okay. So he's got the unholy vitality.
only
So
took
he gets
3
a
wounds out of that. But
he gets
that's
a
not 3
5 and a
2.
6 up feel no pain, which is really
And
nice.
then I'll rinse and repeat with the other 17 attacks.
So that was the first half of the attacks that took him down half.
He's re-rolling 1s.
So here's another 17 attacks.
It will, but he won't have anybody to give it to. And then 3s re-rolling all fails because of the rune, the enhanced factor of the rune. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
So 12 attacks hit this time.
-1.
So
Roll
at
5 ups.
-1 rend, he gets 5 up saves.
All right, 5 ups for the Unholy
Then he
Vitality.
gets his unholy vitality
This is 2,
5
so
up.
times 2 of that, whatever that was. So 16.
Roll this twice.
Okay. So 5 ups, so you save 1, and then 6 ups.
We'll do the other,
We might not even have to after this. I mean, if you don't make,
let's do this one, see the other 8 and see.
yep. Yeah, you only save, so that's 5 wounds that make it, 6 wounds that make it through, so.
So,
Now you'll see how many wounds you do as you die.
Wait a minute, I still gotta do the 6 up. That was just for the 5 up.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I gotta do the feel no pain.
Okay,
so
now you're
they're
6
two-
ups.
They're 2 apiece,
Yep, they were 2 apiece.
so we roll this twice. Now
Andre's,
he's officially dead.
yeah.
Okay.
Now he's officially
Now roll, see how many mortal wounds you do. Does
3.
So he does 3 mortal wounds back to Brian when he dies there.
Let's see if I do take only 2 of them, so one of them passes away. Oh no, take only one damage, 4 up. I'll stick it on. This poor sap in the back didn't see it coming. All right. So they're not wounded, so they're fine. So I will still have 1 objective, 3. So I'll go to 7 at the end of my turn. So 7 points for me, 4 points for you, but it goes to your turn.
So at the top of round 2, we're moving to the bottom. Brian goes up 2 points, or no, 3 points.
And I can move this
So
one, and
up
when
to
you get
7
that, once
points.
you get to the movement phase, I'll
And
have to
so I'll update the score at the bottom of the round here after Andre goes. So we're in Andre's command phase now.
arcane bolt him.
I'll let you. I don't have a choice.
10.
10, okay, so 10 or more is D3. For 1, but I'm, well, first off, let me see if I null city and void, or so it is, nope, it does go off, so for 1.
Yeah.
And that was a Rune Master.
So Brian's Rune Master takes 1 mortal wound from an arcane bolt.
I think he has 5 wounds to begin with. 6 wounds, so he's down to 5.
Yeah,
Then
taking.
for every wound goes to here, right?
Nope, for every kill.
Kill. Got it.
I mean, right now, your Terror Geist would have been sitting in there, but like I said, you didn't have anything to heal, so.
So it looks like everything that dies puts extra points into his chalice,
Within
which
12 inches.
within 12 inches. So that would allow him to heal things. Like that's what he healed his Terrorgeist with earlier. But with nothing in the center of the board, I don't believe he has anything left that he can heal, but still worth counting the points.
Did you want to cast Ferocious Hunger on yourself before you go to the movement phase?
Might as well.
So he's going to attempt to cast Ferocious
Goes
Hunger.
off, so 2 extra attacks for his Archregent.
So he gives himself 2 extra attacks for one of his characters, so that's good.
I mean, you could throw it on one of the, on your little 10-man blob if you really want them to be that, or you could just give it to him since he healed. He would probably get the most benefit out of it.
That'd be what?
So that was all of the spells. So and you'll get your 1 command points, which you probably put on your top down already. Hey Jacob,
What's going on?
not too bad.
Is this Sigmar or?
This is Sigmar. This is Fyre Slayers versus Flesh Eater Court.
All right.
Naked dwarves against.
So Andre is moving up to counterattack and avenge his Terrorgeist.
Actually, no. I don't have an army that would play Sigmar anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't embrace chaos in 40K, so I can't even tempt him yet.
I have Tyranids, that's all I care about.
I could give you Sea Elves if you really want the, you know.
If I got an army, it would be lizards.
Seraphon, all right, I can hook you up. They got a battle tome coming out.
But, even if you buy me stuff, that doesn't guarantee I'll use them. So I definitely won't paint them.
We found if you get a free army at 40K, by golly, you use them.
Free.
And most of my Seraphon army thus far is painted, so there we go.
Brian over here trying to tempt one of our 40K players into getting into Age of Sigmar.
Now the question becomes honestly over here. These are cool. Do you even risk that? And the reason I'm saying this
Oh, no. I see what you're saying. I hope they inject it.
And being as I shared this to the 40K groups, if you're tuning in and you're a 40K player, you can always come in and try out Age of Sigmar. We have loner armies, most people do anyway, to come in and play.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll leave it there.
And we even promise we won't play either of these armies against you in your first go, because both of these are pretty brutal hardcore lists that tear each other up pretty bad. But when you play one hardcore list against another one, usually somebody takes a beating early. And we have seen the blows get traded so far.
But
Even though within 3
you have to be, you can't be within 3 inches until you charge. So right now you're still going to be a -2 in there. So their bravery's 8, so you have to be an 11 or 12.
So it looks like we're out of Andre's movement phase and into his shooting phase.
Nothing out of that one. Nope. These are per model. So
1. Okay.
So nope. Nope. Okay. So this one. So this one actually has to be. This is bravery 7. That'd be 9. So you'd have to have a 10 or better.
So it appears what Andre is trying to do here
10 tie. Nope. That does 1 mortal wound. So.
is attacking Brian's bravery and dealing mortal wounds out. So he does deal 1 mortal wound.
All right.
Scary then.
Charge. Yep. Okay.
So Andre makes a successful charge there.
You're gonna suck me in, but you're only gonna get hit one time.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that chance.
Nope, that's fine.
And then over here.
I mean, at that point, all you do is you go like this. You go, hey, I'm still within an inch, but I'm outside of 3 inches of you.
Second.
Yep. And they make it. This is a 2,000 point battle for each of us. I have the Fyre Slayers are a very elite army, so about 50 models is all I have. But each model is 2 wounds or more. And then Andre's are 1 wound Gribblies for the little guys, and then his big terror guys for 14 wounds of I hate myself or I hate my opponent kind of stuff. Terror guys are typically bad. My army's built for killing big things, that's why. But that's why we wanted to run 2 really hardcore armies against each other.
Gotcha. Are these competitive?
Mine is the current Fyre Slayer competitive stupidity. The Fyre Slayers, there's a couple of variants. This is was supposed to have been the more competitive, but it depends on the player. The other one that Andre played it as offers more movement, which could be advantageous.
Gotcha.
With the blister skin.
No, I'm gonna leave him there.
I mean, he should be okay to
No, he's within the 12.
the 12 of both of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave him there. I'm gonna try to charge him though.
Okay. Going after the Rune Master. And no.
Yeah, well, after a bunch of...
You could spend a command point if you wanted to.
No, because I'm gonna use that to kind of go.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Really, really hoping that their codex comes out. Hey, come here and pick up my winning box.
Yep.
Get the blood ball.
I was telling one of the other winners because he had me buy him the $5 worth of tickets and he wanted. I'm like, you owe me, man. No.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's
We'll attack here first.
All right,
not
so
nearly enough compared to what everyone else is getting.
that one I'm trying to debate. Let me see what kind of attacks do I have with them before you actually attack.
Well, I get it. The Space Marines.
I might take a couple of swings at you.
Giant, there was a giant Space
One
Marine.
attack each. That won't be enough to probably
Like, if
do a
Space Marine
lot.
sucks, who's gonna play this game?
But I've got an extra. A couple of command points will. And I do get an extra hit, so that'd be 10 attacks actually.
They look
I'm gonna
cool.
go ahead and spend the command point,
Attack first, got it.
and it's to up them because of the Hermdar. I don't get it back.
Think of
So I'm gonna go ahead and turn around and attack first.
a big
I
four-legged
do have
tripod.
a 1-inch range, so I will have to.
That's it. It's absolutely awful. 2,100 points of a giant hole. It's a Titan, no invuln.
All right, so I'll take my. Get an extra one for just the call.
The melee actually does things, but it's
5.
absolutely terrible.
9, 10, 11. Hitting on 3s.
It was
Wounding on
flat
3s.
2,000, but then they
Rolling
bumped it up that you couldn't bring it in your regular
1s
game.
on the hits.
I don't know, they bumped it up to like 2050 or something, just so it couldn't be a 2,000 point list. That's it.
All right, 3s.
And there's 2 other types, the barbed inside pyro duels.
So that is
Also garbage.
6, no rend, so 6 5-ups.
It's not the same points as a knight, it's far worse than a knight.
Oh,
Still missed it all.
okay, so 4 wounds go through, so you can make 4 6-ups. So this guy dies.
So this
One
is
takes a wound.
so this is Brian again doing his command point ability to interrupt and take the initiative from Andre. So even though Andre successfully charged, Brian got to hit
Attacks.
first.
86, inflicts a mortar wound, include plus damage. So 4s and 3s. So 3 go through, -1.
3 6-ups.
3 wounds go through,
3 wounds.
and so he takes 3 damage. So it's going to be a dead Fyre Slayer and a wounded one.
Big dice here. Enough 10-sided dice out there to reserve.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that. Now I get to attack back now. So I'm going to go ahead, pile him in. 11 attacks over here. 6, 8, 10, 11. This is because of the enhanced to get the extra attacks. So 3s re-rolling 1s.
Roll 1 on a crit, hit crit. Yep, and also
Whew, not good. 3 at no rend, so 3 5-ups, and 3 6-ups. So 1, 2, 3.
So
He had 2 wounds on him.
Okay, so 2.
2, and then
Okay.
and then 1 extra 1 carried over. All right, so now you can attack with that. So that's going to be 8 attacks, 6 do mortal, and go through.
now Andre gets 3 attacks back. Well, 8 attacks
No
back.
mortals, but it is 4 hits, 5 hits.
And 5 hits.
4 wounds.
And
Yep,
4
6
wounds.
ups. I don't make a single one, so 2 of them pass away.
So
1,
Brian takes
2, 3, 4.
2 more Brian's die, and then 1 is wounded.
That's just so we remember that. That's battle shock, because they can fail morale. They're at 7.
All right, that's it.
So a couple of Brian's empty bases disappear off the table.
That's it.
Proxies, gotta love them.
That's all for the attacks.
Yep. Okay, so at this
Oh,
point.
wait a minute. Do I want to spend it?
For what?
Brushes. No, never mind. No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I mean,
No.
so what would happen? We would actually have 2 in the chalice because I killed him and you killed one of me. So 2 go in there. You can go ahead and roll 2 dice and 2 4-ups. You'll be able to heal a wound. Okay. So 2.
So he's up to full.
He'll be up to full.
So Andre has
I can't fail this one. Their
used
bravery
his
is
chalice
7, so I
to
lost 1 out of that
fully
one. I can't
heal
fail.
up.
This one I can if I roll badly. 4 plus 2, 6. I'm good.
and Brian passes his bravery test on the unit that
End of
lost
turn.
2.
You've still got 1, so you're right now at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, yeah.
So 3.
No, actually, you might not actually have this at the end of your turn. Yep, you did steal it from me. So you will have gotten 3, 3, so you got 6 points, so you get 10. So it's 10 to 7 at the end of 2 turns. Fun times.
So at the top of turn 3, it looks like Andre pulls ahead at
So in
10
this
to
game, The
7.
person that has initiative when you roll to see who gets initiative next turn.
I do know that.
If you
But
tie, the person that
Andre
had the
loses the
previous turn.
initiative again.
I rolled a 1 thinking, oh, I'm going to give it to him. And he rolls a 1. So I actually get to keep initiative.
So even though they both rolled 1, since Brian already had the initiative,
As
he
Andre
takes
goes
it
and
back.
shows up the game room on us here.
So,
I just tripped over a chair,
I
that's
just
all.
took over a chair.
so Andre is being betrayed by his dice yet again.
That happened to me a lot yesterday.
Well, this is the 3rd time.
Don't worry, I went 0-3 yesterday for Warhammer 40K.
So if you've watched any of our Age of Sigmar streams, you just have to feel for Andre because it seems like no matter what tactics he uses, the dice just don't cooperate.
And I used that one. So this one, I am actually going to use the Rune of Relentless Zeal.
So here's a
See if it's an enhanced. It is not enhanced. So the rune right now is that I get 2 extra inches on my movement.
So now Brian has spent his speedy rune to give him 2 extra inches of movement for his Fyre Slayers.
I've got the command point 2 now.
There's minor hope.
There's always hope until you die.
There's minor hope.
All right, so let's.
There's minor hope. It ain't over yet. Here. Read from here down.
All right. So.
So if I roll 5 or better, I get a player back. If he survives.
Yeah, that's gonna be my target.
Oh, I think
That's why I gave these guys, now they move 6, and then, yeah. he won't be around, don't worry about it.
Which is why you needed initiative.
Yeah.
I needed initiative turn 2, because that unit would have been smaller, and this one would have been smaller. I would have lost to Terrorgeist, but they would have been a lot smaller.
Honestly, no. I would have been down one more command point, because I would have spent 2 command points and killed both of them the same as I did. And I would have had 2 rounds of attacking at that. So it's better off to play the way that we did. It just, I would have had 1 extra command point. That's where Hermdar is silly. Because I would have spent 2 command points to give both of my units the ability to attack at the start of combat. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the Arctic Rune Master. I'm going to start with this ability called Holy Seeker. I'm going to roll 2 dice, since they are within 12 inches. Let me see if this other unit's here within 12.
Unfortunately, I can't count the prayers.
Nope, I can't counter spell, so it evens out, man.
Yeah, neither army can block these
Rune Master's going to target this
mystical
one with Holy
attacks.
Seeker. I'm going to roll 2 dice. If I roll 6s, which I have to, I don't even worry about it, so I'm not even going to read the ability. Okay. That was easy.
But if they don't go off, it doesn't really matter if you can counter them or not. So
Prayer of Ash.
Sounds like
Let's
me
see
and
if I get this
sidecars.
one. Still within 6 inches.
Well, it was funny yesterday, my Warlord Narrow Throat got blown off.
3+.
the table. Just telling.
It does go off. Prayer of Ash is the +1 to my save rolls.
2 artifacts in front of you just melted.
Prayer of Ash is on them.
Then at the end of the game, I got to watch a unit of Ripper Swarm get melted by a volcano cannon.
Ouch.
That was funny.
He was calling for it. He's like, you really want to shoot them? Shoot them with the volcano cannon. Just watch.
That was the only thing he could shoot.
I know.
He just fired the volcano cannon at my request, and they died.
All right, so now we go to the Rune Smiter.
Three
So
damage
Searing
to all
Heat.
day.
He's going to turn around and try and hit the guys here with Searing Heat. Does not get a +1, so on a 3+, does not go off. It's a 1. Now we're going to try Runic Empowerment. 3+, it does go off. Runic Empowerment is allowing me to reroll the wounds. Rolls, so that one.
This is just a prime example. You don't get an initiative, you're going to get waxed.
Well, it depends. Right now we're playing kind of 40K style, where neither of us has gotten the double turn. So you just have to be careful what you put yourself into.
Yeah, but I don't have
Because if you leave yourself into the combat, and we don't win the double turn, then you're going to have to take the ramifications.
Is this the whole core rulebook?
Yeah, they've shrunk it down. I mean, it's a full. It's like the rules of Age of Sigmar are only about 14 pages.
Okay. Yeah, I just,
That's in the core book if you want all the fluff.
yeah, that's what I was thinking of, the core book.
So
We'll go here.
Brian's redeploying his berserkers there and going after Andre's
14.
embattled, what are those called again? Crypt flayers. Flayers there.
So these are the 18 axes going into the flayers. So 5s.
With his dwarven throwing axes. But he's hitting on 5s, so even though it's a lot of attacks, it's, well, Brian's rolling pretty decent, so even hitting on 5s.
5s again. So 3 at no rend.
So he gets 3 wounds at no rend off to Andre. So Andre takes 2 of them, and then he gets another save, so he takes 1 more. So 1 wound's not terrible, since those are 4 wounds.
We'll go ahead and do the actual.
And he healed that unit with his chalice earlier, so that was a completely unwounded unit there.
9, because of the leader. And these will be the 3s and 3s. Where'd it go? There it is. 3s and 3s from the Magma Pike. Not that. All right. Then 3s again. So 6 at -1, so 6 6-ups.
So this is his magma pike, so he got a little bit better that time.
I know you had lots of 5s. And there's a 4, so 1,
there's
2,
2 of
3.
those.
And 3.
So there's one down, so
And I'm going to do these. So 2, 2, and 3. And then also 3 axes. So I'm going to do the 3 axes first. 5s, nothing. That was quick. And then these are the shooting magma pikes, 3s and 3s. Oh, look at all those 1s. Only have 2. And 3s, 1 at 1. 1. You got it. Good job.
so he doesn't take any damage from the small unit that he was embattled with.
In there, so now we'll see how many.
So the guy that Andre empowered is the one that's being shot at now.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 throwing axes amongst all of those armies. 6, 9, 12. 5s and 5s. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off the misses here. Not bad. 5s again. That's the best. All right.
And
Got
so
it.
nothing hits on the
Kick his
axes.
butt on the throwing. All right, so that's the shooting phase.
So Brian's done with the shooting phase, and he'll be moving into his charging.
Yeah, let's go ahead and charge this unit first. They're making it 9 inches. That will get me where I need to go.
So he makes a 9-inch charge, getting into his
6.
leader flare down there.
Actually, I'm going to go by because I just need bodies on that this second time. You're just going to wait patiently while you wait because you're wounded. Let's go ahead and see where the other Fire Hearthguard make it. And they make it easily.
So he gets a 10-inch charge with his other guys.
We're actually gonna.
So he's going to charge down the hill and try to get, looks like his leader and that other small bit of Gribbly's back there. If he can.
ways, so I might as well. Try to keep you from, oh hell, we're just gonna go ahead and bash it. Around here when I can get rid of the hit. Plus what they're saying. That's okay. All right, so start a combat. I will get to select one, but I'm going to go ahead and spend a command point to do Hermdar's thing. See if I get it back. I do get it back. So in this case,
Put it this way, if he wipes all this out, it's over. I'm gonna tell you right now, I cannot stop him. Seriously.
well, it just depends on what objectives you're able to get to.
Okay, if this goes away, and
That's three. Right now, you have a 3-point advantage. Let's just. I mean, we can talk it through.
Yeah, we'll
Don't-
talk it through.
But don't jump completely off the boat yet.
well, both sinking.
So in this case, I'm actually going to select that unit to attack at the start of combat.
Okay.
And then I will probably turn around and select that unit to attack first for my first selection.
So Brian is selecting his unit in the back there to attack first, and then his first selection may very well be them again. Well, not them again, but the other unit that's right there. So he's going to try to get into Andre's back line as best as possible.
Actually, all right. So we're gonna have one guy not being able to hit. He's just gonna be an onlooker.
This guy right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna try to make sure we get rid of your boss.
Wait a minute, can he move? No, he can.
No, because I get you have to go towards the closest model.
So here,
I'm touching that model, so I can't go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
That's if it was a big terrorgeist, you can cycle around, but it's not the closest unit, it's the
Okay.
closest model.
Got it. Okay.
So that's where
Don't wanna cheat
my
you.
early game thing, I was forgetting that exact rule, and so I've learned that one.
No
So,
worries.
but yeah, so he is not. So I will get. Let's go ahead and put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go into this, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will go into him.
So he's throwing 6 attacks into the squad, and then 6 attacks leader there. And that leader is his arch-regent.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, because the leader's going after the arch-regent. 3s and 3s. Rerolling nothing for this one.
But that arch-regent does have a 4-up save, which is a little bit better than a lot of his stuff has been having, so...
3s, 5, and -1, so 5 ups.
5 ups.
And 10 wounds. 10 6-ups now. Save 2 of them, so that's 8 wounds.
Dead.
Okay.
But I'm gonna spend the command point to where he's gonna attack.
Okay.
So
Do
now,
that here in just a moment.
Andre has gotten a command point, so he is going to attack on death with his arch-regent.
12. So this is the other 12 attacks going into the little guys. So 3s. 3s. And that's going to be 5 with -1 ring, so you don't get a save.
Nope.
So that's 10 wounds.
So 10
So-
6 ups.
He has 10 wounds, so he's got him 10, 6 up. Feel no pains on his crypt ghouls.
Math would tell it up. Oh, good catch.
All
Okay,
dead.
well, there.
And he didn't save any of them.
Math is not proven out.
So that's a dead squad of crypt ghouls. So now Andre is going to get a chance to attack back with his Arch Regent because he spent his command point to attack on death.
And now I won't actually have to select that unit to attack as my next re-attack, so.
So 9 attacks.
Yep. Ferocious Hunger is brutal.
So this is a lot of attacks. He gets 9 attacks back into these. They're hitting on 3s, wounded on 3s.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay. Up, up.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it, Jason. Alright, 5. 4?
4 minus 1.
4 minus 1, so 4. Prayers, that cancels out the prayer. I wholly within 12 inches, I think I'm outside of, no, I'm wholly within 12, so they can still get the +1 there. So 4 4-ups. 1 goes through, or 1 save, and then 3 4-ups, so only 1 wound. Kills the 1 guy that was wounded.
So he only loses the 1 guy that was already wounded because he gets such good saves. For being naked dwarves, they sure don't take damage very much.
Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and wall up that Barghoul.
So now his original plan was to attack twice there, but now he's going to take his initiative and go over to his Varghul leader,
18, 19 hits.
his Varghul courtier.
I hate dwarves.
19 hitting on 3s. Wounding on 3s, re-rolling misses because of the runic empowerment. Whole bunch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Negative 1, so 14, 5, 6 is up round. Yeah, that's fine. And then 2 cards apiece. Save 1, so that would be enough to, because that was only about half of the ones, right?
I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to do all that.
Then down to 1.
So Andre takes a massive amount of damage there and has to pull his courtier out.
Okay, so now you get to select, so that one or this one.
But now it's Andre's a chance to hit back, and there are 2 weaker units that he's in combat with, so...
This one you'd have more attacks. But
So he's either got 1 flare with 3 wounds remaining, or 2 flares.
attack 6 do mortals. 2 mortals.
Well, he does 2 mortal wounds on his first attack,
4 hits.
4 hits. Add
1
minus 1.
6s.
and then does 4 hits
4 ones going through.
that Brian doesn't block. So that's 4 wounds go through. That kills 2 of his Fyre Slayers. So that completely wipes out that unit. So that was a good selection for Andre to go ahead and get that unit taken out, so they don't get to attack at all now.
12. Not from where we were. No. Only about an inch or so out.
All right, over here.
Yep.
So now Brian's going to pile in and attack his other flare. This one has got 3 wounds remaining, so there is a chance that he will get to survive and hit back because he's only got 4 guys attacking him, but Brian does get a lot of attacks.
This one I don't.
Oh, this one only has 5 attacks because these aren't the crazy ones.
3s and 3s. Of course, I still roll 4 out of the 5. 3s. There, okay, so 2 at no rend.
So he gets 2.
Not enough to kill. 2 wounds, so 2. Nope, no save. No save. Because the leader's dead. So down to 1.
So he's down to 1 wound, but he does get to hit back.
Yep. 4 attacks, 6s, mortals. No mortals. 4's good hit. Okay.
One goes through.
6 up, nope, 1 wound. The downside is, because I was silly,
So he did have a wounded guy in that squad, so it does kill one.
it's gonna kill both of these guys because I can't.
And he lost cohesion because he put his wounded guy in the middle of the squad, so he did lose
I
2,
could do it.
Yeah, I have a notebook somewhere. If I read it, I might.
1 wound cost me 2 models.
which I'm not sure how that's going to affect his leadership losing 2, but it probably not terrible.
That's it.
So I lost a 2. They're fine.
And he rolled a 2 on his bravery check, so it didn't have to.
I lost 1. They can't fail. They have a bravery of 8. So I've claimed this one.
I gotta roll. No, I have bravery 10.
Yeah, you're like an undead.
So
So at the end of my turn, I will have helped this one 2. So now I went to 15 points because that's going to be 3 points for these 2 plus the 2. So 5 points to my 7 or 7, so 12. 12 to 10 right now.
So Brian gives 5 points.
I had 4 points in turn 1, 3 points in turn 2.
Oh, okay.
So that takes him up to 12 points.
So right now you're going to.
And Andre has 10, so Andre
13 to 12.
doesn't lose his very many points.
And
So
then it's just a matter if I can get
if he
one
can-
way or the other in 2 turns.
if he can remain,
No, I'm gonna start going up on you.
Yeah, you're gonna win. I don't have enough units to stop.
You want to play your half of turn 3 though, just to have some fun? Maybe
Yeah,
kill
no,
a couple.
I'm gonna play it
I
out.
promise not to. Well, maybe I can buy not turn dog.
No, I'm gonna play it out.
I might spend a command play.
You gotta roll 6.
Okay.
He's a nice guy.
so one of his flayers does get re-healed from the chalice.
Off the iron. Okay. You're gonna try and steal that one from me, huh? How many parties they made? Okay. Should be 3 inches there, so I think you're still gonna be outside. Because really, it's right up here. Yeah.
So Andre's gonna try to run up
A
and
little short.
be just short of the center objective. So that's
Yeah, they're playing this close up, not that much.
But that'll at least
bummer.
get you into spot next turn. I'll move these up as you decide to where you want to move layers that you have now.
so with focal points. Is that middle objective more important than the?
It is worth 2 points by itself.
Okay, so the middle point is worth 2 points. So that is why Andre is abandoning that corner point to try to take the middle.
And he doesn't actually lose the corner point in this one.
Oh, okay. So since he
It's
has,
not like 40K.
so since he has previously held it, it is his. So he doesn't actually lose the point for that. So this is actually a really smart move because Brian has next to no way to get to that point. So it is worth him consolidating on that center objective, making Brian come to him.
It's not over, man.
And taking a fairly commanding lead in the second turn, points-wise, it's really now a game of survival to see if he can not lose that lead going into the late turns.
For shouting? Then the question is, or do you want to try and put that in? Leave them where they're at, or do you want to try and move them up to be above us? I mean, because I'm either going to head back this way, or I could head that way. And if I can't make it to the point to score it, I'm not saying it's a good idea.
I'm just gonna do it. Just want to force you. If one survives.
Because this one is more important to get back to, but then it also, if I do head back this way, then you could run that way and possibly get it in a couple of turns.
So like we discussed, Andre is going to try to consolidate on the middle objective and put in barriers so that Brian can't run down
You still need that.
those corner objectives.
There's an 8, so that is 1 mortal wound. And then, yep.
So Andre is now doing his fear tactics again to do mortal wounds to Brian's guys.
There.
First one. 8. Nope.
Make this
So he did do one mortal wound to his but he didn't manage to get any mortals done up in the near the main objective.
Let's go ahead and...
So now Brian is deciding whether he wants to spend his command points to Hermdar.
Let me at least spend it. I'll get my 2 hits in. Let me see if I get it back.
So he is going to do that for his little 2-man unit there on that last remaining terror
All 3 hits.
player.
1 hit. No rim.
So he only gets 1 in.
Goes through down to 1. So he's still
Andre
alive.
takes 1 wound, but he's still, so he still gets to hit back.
1 mortal wound.
So he does do 1 mortal wound, so there's only 1 guy remaining. And he 1 attack through.
1, so 6 up. Nope. So he goes down to 1.
So now that last guy is down to 1 wound.
Probably a little bit big as the 1. And this, I mean, we were done.
So this was a short combat phase because Andre didn't do any charging. He's really more consolidating.
Those you're happy with. No. All right.
I know what this guy can do.
So Brian's only got 1 attack back that he's going to do.
Nope, I've already done
Oh no, he already did his
that was
attack.
last, and I jumped to the head of the line.
So
So you are going to go, I have 12, you're going to go to 13, 14, 15. Because you did claim that from me, you have 2 bodies with to my 1. So you jumped out to a 3-point lead. Initiative, 3.
Ha!
Twice in a row he's tied me. I do get a keep it.
So Brian jumps up to 12 points, but Andre keeps his lead at 15. So, like we were discussing, if Andre can hold that center objective and keep scoring points, he can actually retain a lead. It's just a matter of how long he can survive.
Rune Master is going to try. Not get any bonuses to any of this. Get rid of that. Rune.
Yeah, so much for raining. I think it rained tomorrow. I could have played yesterday. It was supposed to rain today. I could have played yesterday.
So they tied on the roll-off for initiative again, so Brian again gets first turn.
I'm going to roll to see if it goes off on its bonus. It does not, so I'm only going to get a +1 to the hit rolls for the throwing axes. So instead of hitting on 5s, they'll hit on 4s.
So now his rune is +1 to his throwing axes. So now his throwing axes are hitting on 4s instead of 5s. That's a bonus, but it's not nearly as brutal as his previous one. Because his throwing axes have been pretty a non-point, really, in this battle, shaving off minor wounds, which Andre's Chalice has pretty much negated.
Did you put the 1 in behind? Yeah. Because I actually had these for the 3 is where I was getting at.
I was going to make sure you count me.
Yep.
So
No, I think you've actually got this one potentially wrapped up.
So right now, because Brian doesn't have his speed rune, he's really only going to be able to attack a couple of places. I'm more interested to see where that berserkers that are in his back line go. That'll really depend whether he moves them back towards the middle or takes them out towards that corner objective to get into those ghouls that Andre has.
Throwing axes here.
So the shooting phase will be pretty key, actually, in this one, as much as I was knocking his axes earlier. But either way, this turn may very well decide the game.
I'm almost saying, I would say this. I'm probably going to move these over here, throw some more axes. I'm probably going to do it here, because I don't think you can make it there, at least in a ton. I don't know, though.
No, I don't. I would have to run. No,
And then, like I said, it's either I go and then I knock, but I won't make it, but I you're still playing because I won't go far enough. I have to come and steal this way. I'm going to have to steal them back.
So Andre was consolidated on the middle objective, and it looks like Brian is going to take that challenge and meet him on the hill there. And because the debate was that the corner objective is too far away for him to contest it and actually take it.
Axe throw it.
He's going to stay high. He's got some.
So Brian's doing his axe attacks, but it doesn't look like he's getting anything through.
Let's go ahead and charge.
So that was Brian's shooting phase, so now he's going to charge. So while one of his flares did end up dying,
It was a 7-inch charge. All Leroy Jenkins.
so his Rune Father gets in.
He's only 9 inches. There.
So he's getting his characters into combat.
And this is the Hearth Guard.
And he gets a 9-inch charge with his Hearth Guard, so we'll see how many he's going to be able to get in. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get a lot in, though, because of the way his characters are positioned and only getting a 9-inch charge. He was a little ways away, so...
I'll be able to get about 6 or 7 in there.
So yeah, he should be able to get about 6 or 7 dwarves into combat. So it's actually not going to be as brutal, but those characters hit like trucks, so... But as Brian just reminded me, you got to watch because that unit can also attack twice. So,
All right. Everything out. That standpoint, a chance to hit first and then hit again if needed. It's away.
So he did spin the command first and then hit again if need be.
Files around 3 inches.
So now he piles in, so now we'll get to see exactly how many attacks he's going to get here. Still won't be a whole lot, but it won't be the whole squad.
No, it will not. But it's going to be 12. So hits in total.
So he gets 13 attacks.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 3s and 3s. No re-rolling this time because Prayer of Ashes is the +1 to the save. 3s. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7
So-
is -1, so 7, 6 up.
7 go or hit,
So it's going to be 10 wounds in total. So they're done.
so 10 wounds go through, and that is both of his flayers.
All right.
So Brian does take the hill, but he does have a big old blot of ghouls
So I'm going to, you're at 17, right?
on his heels.
15. So I'm going to go to 10 to 15. And so now, right now, you're going to go to 18 at the end of this turn at the very least, unless you. The downside is, what they do is probably they're going to, that's enough bodies. And that's the point. That's
So
been a point.
Brian goes to 15 points, but Andre goes to 18.
So it's now just a question of. So this turn 4, we'll go to.
So now we're on the top of turn 4.
At the end of the next turn. So if you were to stay right where you're at, 18 to 15. At the end, and then we can
They're
roll to
talking
see
out
if we
points
wanted
now to see if it's worth continuing the
Because then
game.
what it comes down to is if you don't win initiative, it won't matter. You're still going to go. You would go to 21 maximum. I would go to 20 maximum. Without making this run. That run. So right now you do have the advantage by not doing anything. And then see if I can. Number one, if I don't, so at this point, do you want to call your turn done?
Yeah, my turn's done.
Okay, so right now you're going to go to 17. Or
So
18,
Andre is not going to actually respond because he holds 2 objectives and he doesn't want to get into combat because he doesn't want to take the hits back. So
3.
we roll for initiative.
Okay, now I have to make some magic work.
So as the game shows, Brian takes initiative. So top of 4, Brian is in initiative. Oh no, this is going to be top of 5.
This is the top of 5, and so basically I need to steal one of these 2 points.
So it is up to Brian to go on the attack here to take at least one of these points away from
What
Andre.
I think I need to do is I need to come this way, 4 inches, outside of 3, charge, and hope I get a big charge to charge as many down here, and then still hit you.
So he needs a large charge roll to get around the side of that ghouls.
If you kill over half, there's a chance he uses it.
That's what I'm going to have to hope to do, and I still have to keep my guys.
Because if Brian doesn't kill that unit and get into that objective, there's no way that he can win because he just doesn't have enough time left to surmount Andre's lead.
I have the 3 big guys at least up here, so it's going to keep it to where you're going to have to contest.
Yeah, so I would say.
I'm going to have to run this down here.
now,
4 inches. I think that's. Oh, so let me go through my hero phase.
Yeah, go
So,
through your stuff.
man point back. I think. See if it goes off on super or not. It does not. So this one is if the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by a friendly Fyre Slayers unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of the weapon.
So now he does an extra damage on with his attacks because of his rune that he's activating.
So. All right.
Which, being as he has a giant blob to go through, extra damage on 6s is not a bad thing.
Just have to stay outside of 3. What the intent is that stay outside.
So yeah, what Brian is going to do now is he's going to move his 4-inch movement to the side, hoping for a large charge roll so that he can consolidate around the objective.
Reroll the charge, right?
If I want to.
So,
Depending on the number.
so he does have a command point to reroll charges. So he does really need a large charge to get around Andre's unit, take that objective from him, and then hopefully wipe out that squad.
Better, he has a very good chance.
And if he can take out that objective, then Andre will slowly lose his lead, and it'll be a narrow victory, but Brian will probably be able to win that one.
What about these guys? They're part of the
Yeah, I started to move and I forgot that I really needed to do that. Yeah, that's fine. Might as well charge, run 5 inches, so he's gonna make it.
Okay, so we're in Ryan's shooting phase. He's throwing axes at these crypt ghouls to try to weaken them up before he goes in for close
I
combat.
don't think 3 X's are gonna weaken him up one.
So he does get
No
one
reds,
wound.
6-ups.
Andre gets a 6-up save, but he doesn't get it, so he does lose one
One of
crypt
the ones in
ghoul.
front to make that charge that 3.5 inches.
And he's going to kill from the front to try to make this charge as hard as possible.
All right. We're out of range.
So it looks like Brian did get a long charge. So, an 8-inch. So he will be able to get to the objective. It's just a question now of whether he can wipe out that crypt ghoul unit.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and strike command point, see if I get it back. I do get it back. It was a 5. I'm not cheating on that one. So we're gonna pile in our.
Brian has never-ending command points here, so it has been really good in his
I have a
attack
blister skin.
capability.
Blister skin is one that has the archery chest, Elsherator, being in the overframe. I roll 4.
All right, so I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 times 2, so 22, 23.
So he gets 23 attacks into these crypt ghouls, so...
The thing is, if they have a rend,
And 2 damage apiece. That's why I'm saying I
So,
should be able to.
with 2 damage weapons and
But-
Andre not getting a save against the Rend,
6,
this is going to be pretty brutal on that.
12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. Threes. A lot of ones, though.
But Brian doesn't have any of his rerolls active, so
the only good thing is I do have Feel No Pain because I have the crit cast. Courtier gives me the 6.
Yep.
so he does get a 6-up Feel No Pain for Andre, but
3 up.
that is something.
That one. Okay. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. No save, though, so 20 wounds make it through. So 26 ups.
So he's got 20 wounds to save with a 6-up.
But now you see why that 40-man blob is really important, actually, though. So you save 3, 4, 5.
So
15
Andre
wounds,
saves
15
5, so he
die.
takes 15.
50 dice so far.
Yep. So
You're going to rinse and repeat, right?
in here in a minute, but do you want to remove what you want to remove, or? 'Cause
So
now,
Andre is now going to pull guys out of combat. So losing 15 guys, he's going to give himself a buffer and make Brian pile into him when he's going to attack twice. So he may not get as many into combat on the second go round, depending on how Andre kills.
you gotta kill all to get them.
So yeah, now Brian is going to get to pile in. It doesn't look like Andre was able to kill enough to keep him out, so he's going to get basically the same amount of attacks again into that squad.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would have stepped in. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 again. So same 23.
So yeah, 23 more attacks into his crypt ghouls.
One turn I needed initiative was turn 2. Turn 2 I needed initiative. Because this unit could have been whittled down and that one's moving well. Just a team movement. Just make it a little bit interesting.
3s and 3s.
So Brian's bad roll from last time doesn't hold up this time. He got a lot more hits. So we'll see how the wounds go. And that's quite a few wounds.
And this is the 6. I didn't do the 6s, but this is the unmodified wound roll. So 1, 2. So this is actually going to do.
So unmodified wound rolls of 6 do an extra
roll
damage.
5, so you won't get 5. These are just, you're not getting a save, right? So these are actually 3 damage apiece. So that's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 damage.
So 25 damage goes through.
Remember the first attack.
And Andre gets a 6-up Feel No Pain on 25 wounds. So he needs to save about at least 5 of
This is
these.
this is the kind of the equivalent of a 6-commander Tau army. I won't play this army against anybody that doesn't play a suitable offsetting
So
army.
Andre did roll quite a few 6s out of that. So it looks like he saved 7. So he takes 18 wounds. I think that may be the whole
even if we were to
thing.
remove them, because you want to hit back now, so now would be, even if we were to remove those 2, so there's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Where's your quarter? Right there. Okay. Oh. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 14, 16, 18. That would leave you 5. I mean, I'm going to steal this one back from you. And then you still have to be hit by the Battlesmith and the runic father. So what that's going to do is, I mean, go ahead and roll this one out, and then what we'll do is we'll look through them and see what the points, because I'm going to go from 15, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, it's going to, now that's going to reduce you down to 18 or 19 points being your maximum. Unless, yeah. So it'd be 21 to 19.
So it looks like it's gonna. So it looks like it's gonna go 21-19 for the end.
It's going to go really badly. We had me sweating bullets though. I'm like, I only have a 4-inch moving army. Oh, that was a very good game. Had its major swings.
It had no swings.
Major swings. Hearthguard hitting twice is kind of brutal, and then being able
So they're gonna go ahead and call the game here. It looks like, but Andre not getting initiative made it pretty rough. And then Brian, again, his never-ending command points allowed him to take the fight again stuff almost continuously, where Andre was struggling for command points, so he couldn't use some of his fight on death abilities when it mattered. So, but I mean, 21-19 is still not a blowout game. I mean, that was a very close game, and because those Fyre Slayers are really nasty. So, I mean, being able to hold out against that way was actually really impressive. I mean, he held the lead for 3 turns out of the 6. So that's no shame there.